artificial intelligence, virtual hearings, cybersecurity. How can lawyers and law firms meet these and other challenges? Hello, I'm Jeff M. Brown. I'm the legal writer with the State Bar of Wisconsin. I'm here today with Courtney Clark, an author and an expert in change and resilience. Courtney will be the closing plenary speaker at this year's annual member conference, which is scheduled for June 14th through 16th at the Pfister Hotel in downtown Milwaukee. Welcome, Courtney.
Thank you so much for having me.
You've got a wealth of experience in resilience and change. You survived cancer multiple times when you were younger. You adopted a teenager. What are the three most important things for an organization that's facing change and crisis, and how can an organization and its members build resilience?
So I think things to keep in mind are what I have found is that a lot of people think of resilience as equating to positivity, having a good attitude. But what I have found is that actually adaptability is a greater predictor of resilience. The ability to roll with the punches, that saying, and that those people who are adaptable and flexible actually are the ones who are more resilient, who are better able to navigate change. I think what also is a great predictor of resilience is strong connections. And so that's something that organizations can work hard to foster is how do we share stories? How do we create connection between other folks? Because groups who can find ways to rely on other people, to learn from other people, those are the ones who can navigate these tricky situations the quickest.
Let me ask a follow-up question on that, a two-part follow-up question. So where our adaptability is, of course, all things being equal and everyone's personality is different, but some things are biological, plasticity of the brain, for instance. I'm 53 and I notice that I am less adaptable than I used to be, especially when it comes to learning new things. There's a reason we learn a new language before we're 16. It'd be much harder for me to learn French now than it would when I was in June, a youngster in France. But I've noticed myself really struggling. And part of this is personality, but part of it is plasticity of my brain. New technologies, not so much Zoom. We all got used to that. It's pretty user friendly the way the iPhone is. But other things, I find it harder to learn new software. My computer just was unfortunately updated to Windows 11, and certain things are moved. Who moved my cheese, right?
Yes.
A book from a couple 20 years ago that was popular, but certain little buttons are in different places now, and it's harder to deal with that. So what's your advice to lawyers and organizations that are made up of lawyers and attorneys or anyone who's maybe past the age where the brain is a little less plastic? And the second part, you talked about connection as a resource for resilience. That's harder. It's been harder the last couple of years with the pandemic. So can you address that aspect to the connectivity component?
I can. And believe it or not, those two have a relationship to each other that was really surprising to me when we did our research. So I worked with a research firm. I hired a team with the University of Northern Colorado, and we were trying to pinpoint like what is resilience and where does it come from? And how does adaptability play into it? What we found is that you're absolutely correct. The more seasoned you are, it is harder for you to let go of older ways of doing things. And I think we all just kind of accept that as true with a broad paintbrush, not any individual person necessarily. But yes, the older we get, the more we want to do something the way we've always done it, because we might have been the one to implement the way it's always been done. Or we can count our success on like, I did it that way and I was successful. Why did it stop working? But what was really interesting is connection. The older you get, we found that the older employees were actually better about connecting to other people, sharing stories, getting advice. And that really surprised me. The first part about that, like, okay, you get older and you're a little less good at the, initial adaptability part. That didn't surprise me, but it surprised me to feel like, it surprised me to find that the younger employees were the ones that struggled with that connection. Because I would think the younger you are, the more you need to ask for help, the more you need to ask for guidance. But then I thought about young me, fresh out of college and in my first job. And I definitely remember that feeling of, well, don't tell them you don't know how to do this. Don't ask for help because they might think they shouldn't have hired you. They made a mistake. You don't know anything. You don't deserve to have this job. So there were several times that I can point to early in my career that I encountered a problem and I thought that I had to solve it myself to prove my worthiness, instead of just cutting right to the chase and saying, I don't know how to do this. I need some input here. And maybe older employees don't have those same issues. Maybe older employees are so confident that they do know 95% of the, they know all these awesome things. So, oh, well, let me ask for some help. So we actually found that on the connection piece, the older you were, the more you had an advantage. So it was cool to find that different age groups of employees had different strengths that they could tap into to develop resilience. And I think that's really helpful for all of us to know. So if you are an older employee, then you need to focus on, what does it mean to let go of the plan, the way we've always done it? And if you're a younger employee, then you're right. It is harder to find connection. A lot of us are working from home more than ever. But connection doesn't have to only mean face-to-face. And if we're saying that these young employees are adaptable, well, then they should be in a great position to adapt to new ways to find mentors and work with mentors, adapt to new ways to get advice and input from other people. And so I hope that that is what we see happen. I hope that we see organizations putting a lot of effort into, how do we keep growing the connections that we've built, even if we're moving to a less butts in seats, in-person type of model.
Can you preview for us a little bit what you're going to talk about at the conference in June?
Sure. So when I talk about resilience, I like to come at it from a couple of angles, because the reality is, work-life balance, we know that that's a joke now more than it's ever been. And there's really blurry boundaries. There were before, and now that a lot of us are living and working in the same place, the boundaries are blurrier than ever. So I'm going to share strategies that work for developing resilience, both in the workplace and at home. And my hope is that folks walk away with both feeling this sense of, I could do this. Okay. All right. Maybe being resilient isn't what I thought it was. I only thought, that was for positive, upbeat, happy people, and that's not me. So we're going to give them a feeling of possibility, and we're going to give them some down and dirty strategies and tactics that they can start implementing. So we're going to talk about things like, how do we overcome stress? I'm going to teach the stop, drop, and roll strategy for overcoming stress. And it's not exactly what the firefighters taught you when they came to your kindergarten class, but it's not totally different either. We're going to talk about locus of control, the sense of power, and how we can make sure that we are giving ourselves the best chances of being less stressed while still getting more done. Because I know that's a really big thing for a lot of your folks. And we're also going to talk about, how do we navigate change in a way that's successful both for us as individuals and for our organizations.
Great. Well, sounds very exciting. Thank you, Courtney. We'll see you at the annual member conference in Milwaukee on June 16th. Look for a link in the video summary to register for the conference. Thanks again. See you in June.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.